Paul Pogba was once the most expensive footballer in the world, a midfielder who could dance through defenses, fire rockets from distance, and control games with nothing but swagger. But today, his name sparks more controversy than glory. Injuries, suspensions, transfer drama, that's the surface. But look closer, and you'll see something deeper. This isn't just about bad luck or poor choices. This is about what happens when a player doesn't fit the system. And instead of fixing the system, they let the system break him. The golden boy with a broken path. When Paul Pogba returned to Manchester United in 2016 for a then world record fee of £89 million, it felt like a homecoming. A prodigal son was finally reunited with the club that let him go too soon. Fans cheered, cameras followed. He danced into Old Trafford with confidence, energy, and the world at his feet. But behind the excitement was a shaky structure. United didn't build a system around Pogba, they built a brand. He was used more as a marketing star than a midfield general. One day, a box-to-box warrior, the next day sitting deep. Different managers, changing tactics, no stability. Jose Mourinho clashed with him. Solskjaer protected him. But no one truly understood him. Pogba, despite all his talent, became a puzzle nobody wanted to solve. A generational talent dropped into a club that had lost its direction, and expected him to fix it all. France glory and the Pogba that could have been. In 2018, Pogba reminded the world who he was. The World Cup in Russia wasn't just a trophy for France, it was Pogba's redemption tour. He bossed midfields, led with maturity, and even gave the team talk before the final. This was the Pogba that United fans were promised. Confident, sharp, unstoppable. It was clear this version of Pogba only came out when surrounded by clarity, trust, and balance. Didier Deschamps didn't try to control him, he empowered him. Back at United, it was a different world. Critics accused him of saving his best for France, but maybe he just couldn't give his best to a club that had no idea how to use it. When France won that final, Pogba held the trophy in one hand and the world's respect in the other. Injury, isolation, and the silence that followed. Not long after the World Cup, injuries began creeping in. What started as minor knocks became long spells on the sidelines. And when you're Pogba, silence grows loud. The club went quiet, the support faded, and the media, they found a new storyline. Is Pogba worth it? He was labeled lazy, distracted, overrated, but they didn't see the man behind the scenes, working in rehab, trying to get back. Fans saw haircuts on Instagram. What they didn't see were the lonely hours in the gym, the physical toll, and the mental battle of watching his career stall. The media's favorite target. It was open season on Pogba. Tabloids had headlines ready even when he didn't play. Pogba distracted by new hairstyle. Pogba parties while injured. The coverage was brutal, constant, and personal. They mocked his lifestyle, questioned his motives, and twisted every word out of context. And in football, when enough noise builds, people stop seeing the player and start seeing the headline. He became a distraction in the eyes of many. But the truth was simpler. Pogba was still the same player. It was the narrative around him that changed. The club that never backed him. Instead of protecting their most valuable player, Manchester United stayed silent. No strong statements, no public support, no real effort to shut down the noise. Inside the club, managers changed, tactics shifted, and Pogba, he remained in a cycle of confusion. Imagine being told you're the face of a rebuild, but the team is built around others. Imagine being blamed for losses, but never praised for wins. He had to be a leader, a creator, a defender, and a scapegoat. The return that should have meant redemption. When Pogba left United again in 2022, no goodbye video, no heartfelt tribute. But then came Juventus, the club where his star first exploded. It looked like a second chance, a reset, a familiar place where Pogba once ruled midfields with magic. And fans, they hoped the old Paul was coming back. Within months, Pogba was injured again, not a tweak, a serious knee issue. Surgery followed, recovery was long, and just when he was on the edge of returning, more heartbreak came. His body wasn't healing like before. only 6 appearances in the entire season. The dream comeback became a haunting rerun of everything that went wrong before. Broken rhythm, poor fitness, and worst of all, the growing sense that his prime had already slipped away. The doping scandal that changed everything. Just when it seemed things couldn't get worse, in September 2023, Pogba tested positive for testosterone. Not recreational drugs, not a casual mistake. A serious anti-doping violation. At first, there was confusion, shock, disbelief. His camp claimed it was accidental. But the investigation didn't stop. A 4-year ban from football. In a player's early 30s, that's almost a death sentence for a career. He didn't cry on social media. He didn't blame anyone publicly. He stayed mostly silent. But the silence said everything. This wasn't just about drugs. It was the culmination of years of pain, pressure, mismanagement, and perhaps desperation. The will to stay relevant, the fear of fading away, from world champion to outcast. When football turns its back, football has a short memory. It celebrates you when you're on top and forgets you the moment you fall. That's exactly what happened to Pogba. Once the world's most expensive player, now barely mentioned in headlines. Sponsors backed out. Clubs distanced themselves. Even fans, once full of love, moved on to the next big thing. This wasn't just a fall from grace. It was a complete erasure. Could someone, a manager, an advisor, a mentor, have guided him better, protected him from the storm, reminded him of who he was? The system was never built for players like him. We often talk about Pogba's attitude, his hair, his lifestyle, a black, outspoken, unapologetically expressive midfielder who danced, celebrated, and smiled. In many ways, Pogba was everything the modern football system doesn't know how to handle. Not a disciplined pawn, not a quiet workhorse. He was a freestyler with a rebel's heart. And the system? It demands obedience. It rewards consistency over flair, discipline over personality. At Juventus, he thrived because they let him be. With France, he shone because they trusted him. But elsewhere, he was forced to fit a mold that never fit. And when he didn't, they blamed him. It's about how football treats players who don't fit its script. How talent is wasted when systems refuse to adapt. So how will the world remember Paul Pogba? As the £89 million flop? Or the leader of France's midfield in 2018, lifting a World Cup and inspiring a generation? Pogba's story is not black and white. It's full of contradictions. Genius and failure, magic and missteps. But maybe that's the point. His legacy isn't a single chapter. It's a series of moments scattered across countries, clubs, and controversies. And while his football career may be paused, or even ended, because whether you loved him or not, you watched, you talked about him, you debated him. This wasn't just another player. This was Paul Pogba, and his story was never meant to be simple. His story isn't over, but the world already moved on. Paul Pogba gave football his joy, his genius, his soul, and in return, it gave him fame, then silence. Maybe he'll come back, maybe he won't. But either way, he was never just a player. He was a symbol of everything the game loves. And everything it still doesn't understand. This was Paul Pogba, and this was what we lost.